Yo, Joe, YouTube! Remember back when I did my first G.I. Joe classified video, I said, yeah, I probably won't get many more of these guys. I'm not going to go as hog wild as I did with Transformers, blah, 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 blah. Well, I haven't gone as hog wild as I did with Transformers, but I have gotten a few more characters than I expected to. I've been picking away at them for several months now. Most of them I had before we separated and I moved into my new place, but I do have a few more newer ones recently because on Amazon they had some good Black Friday, Cyber Monday deals on a few characters that I really like. So I was like, oh, I'll pick those up for cheap. So I do have a handful more Joes to go through and unbox for you. So I'm going to do them in 3 separate sessions. So this is the first one. This features 4 characters, 3 of them really iconic from the original roster. And what I'll do when I post these videos, I will post the links to my previous Joe unboxing videos so that you can see who else came before them and also see my comments in that original video when I kind of discuss more of my experience with G.I. Joe in general and some other good stuff like that. So, but today's 4 characters, let's go through them and let's start with a bang. This one's awesome. Cobra fucking Commander, the OG bad guy. Now, he was released in 1982 as one of the original characters from the main storyline. And Cobra Commander's story is a weird one. He's a mysterious figure. Nobody really knows who he is, and he always wears this helmet, so you don't even know what he looks like. So, I mean, being a bad guy, I guess that kind of works for you, because if you ever get yourself in a pickle and piss off some of your own people, you could walk in without your uniform and your helmet on and be right beside them, and they'd be like, who the fuck is this guy, right? So maybe he does it on purpose, I don't know. But Cobra Commander is basically a maniac. He wants world domination at any cost. He doesn't care what scheme he comes up with, what it means, who gets hurt along the way, whether it's the Joes, whether it's civilians, whether it's his own troops. Winning at any cost. He is truly evil. He is very cunning, and he even hops into battle himself, you know, from time to time. He's not always in the thick of the action, but he's not afraid to get his hands dirty either. So he is the epitome of evil in the G.I. Joe series. Now, there's a few other members of Cobra leadership that he's at odds with from time to time. Destro, who runs Mars, the weapons manufacturing facility that works hand in hand with Cobra. You know, there can be a bit of friction between the two of them. Sometimes they're best buds, sometimes they're butting heads. Same with Dr. Mindbender when he came along, kind of Cobra's madman scientist guy. And then, of course, when Dr. Mindbender engineered Serpentor, who became the new Cobra leader. Of course, Cobra Commander did not take to Serpentor for usurping his leadership. So, but yeah, Cobra Commander, just a maniac who will stop at nothing to gain power and enslave. Next up, another iconic one, the Joe's leader, Duke. His original toy was also released in 1982 as part of that original line. Voice all of a sudden. He's not the ultimate Joe leader. He's kind of their field commander. He's the guy who gives them their orders that he gets from above. I think Hawk is the next guy above him. Sometimes Hawk comes along on missions and gets involved, but most of the times not. So Duke is the de facto leader in the pit who distributes orders, comes up with strategy, makes pivots during the action and issues all the commands. And he got to this position because he saw a ton of action in various skirmishes, Vietnam being one of them, and always proved himself to be heroic, capable, and very smart in making decisions, and very honorable. So he was the choice to come in and take over the Joe team and lead them in their quest to repel all of Cobra's various schemes. So excited to get him out of the box because I always knew I was going to get him. Same with Cobra Commander. I always knew these guys were going to be on my shelf eventually because you got to have the 2 leaders, right? But it was just a matter of finding the right time and finding the right price, which I did. Next up, arguably my favorite Joe character of all time, and you probably know who this is. The Ninja Snake Eyes. Oh yeah, and Duke's real name is Conrad Hauser, and he's from St. Louis, just as a little tidbit there. Now, Snake Eyes is the deadliest G.I. Joe member by far, bar none. He is a ninja capable of pulling off crazy ass moves, getting himself out of situations where you're like, oh, he's dead. Like any other Joe would be dead, and now, oh, here's Snake Eyes. He somehow got his way out of it, right? He is deadly. He can use weapons like guns and stuff like that, but he's a ninja. He uses like swords and shit like that. So he is truly the most skilled G.I. Joe fighter. And his past is like very mysterious. Not as mysterious as Cobra Commanders. We know a little bit about Snake Eyes, but he was kind of like an orphan. And then he was taken in by the Arashikage clan of ninjas, where he studied to become a ninja. And he met his friend Tommy there, who eventually became the ninja working for Cobra, known as Storm Shadow. And so originally the two were friends, but then they had a falling out, and then they, of course, joined these two opposite sides. So whenever there was a good G.I. Joe battle, you always knew Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow were going to meet up and have some sort of crazy-ass fight, right? So he is just... I say arguably because there are quite a few Joe characters that are, right up there. But I don't know how you don't like Snake Eyes the best. He is just so fucking cool. It's unbelievable. And in the G.I. Joe live action movies, not the Snake Eyes Origins one, that was the most recent one, but in the first two, he's actually played by Ray Park, who played Darth Maul in The Phantom Menace, the Star Wars movie. So I found that kind of cool because this guy's just capable of so much crazy shit and stunts and fighting and stuff like that. I wish I could fucking be capable of something like that. That makes me a badass, but also gets me movie roles. God, what a life. Last up, and Snake Eyes' original toy was also from 1982, part of that original line. He's OG legit. Last up, I always like this guy because I love water stuff. There wasn't really water stuff in Transformers, but whenever I had toys, like G.I. Joe had a number of water-based vehicles. The Devilfish was Devilfish is a little boat that has dual outboard motors on it. I have the original Jellyfish, and it's amazing. Devilfish. But it's so small, I can't say it's my favorite Joe water vehicle. The hovercraft was fucking sick. There's a lot of them, though. They did a lot of water vehicles, and I love water stuff. Even as a kid, I had like play school toy sets. Like I had this boat that had these two guys with harpoons and scuba tanks, and it came with a shark. They were like a shark hunting crew. And I remember going to my buddy's cottage when I was just a little kid, and I would always take that with me, and I'd go down to the shore of the lake, and I'd fucking play for hours with this boat set. I love water in general, and I always love when you could make your toys interact with water, right? So I always like the water characters, and that's what this guy is. And his name is Torpedo. So Torpedo wasn't in that original line. He came along the next year in 1983. His real name is Edward Leilola, something like that. He's from Hawaii, and he obviously he specializes in underwater shit. He's a Navy SEAL, and he is one of the Joe's specialists when it comes to going beneath any sort of body of water. And he's very skilled in hand-to-hand combat. He knows a few different types of martial arts, but he is very serious about his craft, about his life. So he's kind of a dude you don't really have a lot of camaraderie with, let's say. He's a little aloof, let's just say that, because of how serious he is about doing his shit. So anyways, these are the 4 Joes we're going to unbox today. We're going to have a look at them. We're going to take some pictures, and we're going to look at their original G1 toys, which, let's do that right now. Let's roll through the 4 G.I. Joes we're unboxing today, and let me show you their original toys from back in the day. Not quite as advanced as these, no sir. Yeah, so not as complicated as these are going to be. So, but nonetheless, at the time in the early '80s, watching that cartoon as a kid and going to the store and getting some of those figures, like fucking pigs and shit, we were back in the day. Me and my buddy Ian, that lived just down the street from my old house when I grew up as a young kid. They had him and his brother had a ton of GI Joe stuff like I did. So, whichever house we went to. He had a better backyard, so a lot of times we were at his house and we had his toys outside. We'd be playing in the grass and stuff. We just spammed GI Joe unmerciful back in the day. It was fucking awesome. So, but anyways, these guys are even more awesome. So let's get them out of the boxes and see what they look like. Alrighty, Rue, we're gonna start. We're gonna do them in the order I kind of talked about them there. So we're starting with Cobra Commander. Oh, these packages are fajort. There we go. Now these three of these guys are what they call the card back packaging. I'm not sure if this was like original classified line or something like that, but like I mentioned in some of my original Joe unboxing videos, these card back ones come with these little stands, which I love, just like the original toys did. So you can just plunk them on there and they stand up. You don't have to worry if they're a little top heavy in certain situations. They're not going to plop over, you know. Let's see, does it say anything about... No, okay. Oh, what is this? Is this a quality choking hazard? Looks like that's tape there. Oh, it's all the way across. Never mind. Okay. Cobra's got a little knife. That seems about right for a bad guy in his stature, right? Stabbing people in the back. I'm curious to see if his helmet comes off or not. So I'd really be curious to see what kind of, face they put on him, right? So I kind of doubt it does, but oh, Jesus. Chest protector save, man. He's got a little blaster. I'm assuming this is a blaster holster. Maybe something like that. I'm guessing. And then he's got a few different fist options. These ones are just plain fists for either punching people or raising them in the air like a fucking megalomaniac speech or something. And then he's got this one with an open fist and then a point. So, let's see, does he... No, I don't think this comes off, so... Yep, so he's got a little holster for his knife. See? Nice. I think I'm going to put a blaster in his hand. Ew. There we go. Blaster in hand. We'll put a little back sack on him, a little back sack where he can store his gun. And then I think, I don't know, what do you think? I think for his other fist, I might do a fist. Because he's an angry individual. Okay, we'll put him on his little thing. I wonder if you can buy these separately. You probably can. There's Cobra Commander. What a beauty. What an absolute beauty. Love the uniform. Looks just like the one in his show with the little red pinstripes down the legs and the Cobra symbol. If you're younger and you like cartoons and you've never watched G.I. Joe, I highly recommend it. It's one of the best ever. 80s cartoons were the best cartoons of all time. 90s had a lot of good shit too. They're pretty close behind, but easily the 80s just had so much good stuff. And there's obviously, it's older animation. There's animation errors. They've definitely come a long way in that regard, but they're just so good. That stuff doesn't even bother you, Oh, man. Okay, Dookie Duke. Ah, shit. Oh, that went under the couch. Meh. There it is. Got some fists for Cobra Commander. Ooh, Duke comes in with a lot of shit. Awesome. Got a backpack here with a little shovel in it, a couple canteens on the side. It's got a little handgun. But the one I'm gonna give him is this big boy. Looks like an M16 or something. He's got a helmet, which I probably won't use the helmet for Duke, because you're usually used to seeing him without a helmet on. Got a little knife. He's got a couple of extra hand options, both of which are fists. Really pack these guys in there well, which is good. Okay, so there's Dookie Boy. Now he also has a set of binoculars, which I remember he had with the original toy as well. And another gun. I think this is the one he came with in the original. It had this little kind of bended part that hooked around your arm. I remember him having that one, I think. So yeah, I think I would put a back sack on him. I'll keep his hands the same. kind of pose him here for what I plan on using on the shelf. He's got a little holster for his handgun, his sidearm. Yeah, so I don't think I'll use the helmet, knife, binoculars, or the other gun. And I won't change out his fists. I think that's what we're... Oh, no, he's got a slot for his knife down here on his boot. Ha! There we go. So there's Duke. He's a really good looking figure, which you kind of don't really think because he's so generic. Like he's just this beige and green and, you know, nothing really like Cobra Commander stands out. You know what I mean? But yeah, no, Duke, especially when you look at him closely, he's a really good figure, really detailed. There's Dukey boy. Arch rivals beside each other. Just like with Devastator and Superion. Guys, keep it civil down here when I'm asleep at night, alright? Here comes the big man, Snake Eyes. If Snake Eyes were a wrestler, he'd be Bret Hart. The excellence of execution. Alright, there's his little stand. So he comes with a satchel of something. I don't know what they are. Let's say they're explosives. Snake Eyes be blowing some shit up. Right, so he's got a knife there. He's got what looks like maybe a walkie-talkie or maybe a remote for the explosives. He's got two what look to be either like gas grenades or maybe flashbangs, something like that, you know. And then he's got a sidearm handgun. Oh, how did they even get these things in there in the first place? That must be a machine. Wow. And then there's his Uzi, his little repeater that I remember him for. Alright, so there's the snake. So what I'm probably going to do is put his sidearm in his holster, his knife in its sheath, and he's going Uzi, baby. Oh, he's awesome. He's kind of like Duke because he's so like just kind of monochrome, right? Just all black. But, you know, when you look at him, you see all these little details like the boots and stuff, and the material of the pants is different than the top. And, you know, there's some good stuff. And then his little thing that he has around his neck with all of his gear on it. And then his face. His face is so iconic, that helmet. And he doesn't talk either. He had an accident at some point and he no longer speaks. So he's quiet. But he's awesome. Okay, Torpedo is last up. Obviously, this is from a different sub-series of the classified figures. It's got a totally different packaging and I like these ones because they have that little, the weapons are in like a little mystery foot locker, right? Like, so you don't know exactly what the guy's getting until you open it up, right? Which I kind of like that. Ooh, he stands up well, that's good. So here is said foot locker and the bag within it. Obviously, he's going to have some scuba gear. I think that much we know. Faux show. Okay, yeah, so he's got some flippers, which I'm going to put on him. Oh, reminds me of my days snorkeling in the Caribbean. Nah. There we go. That'll help him stand up easier, too. That's not bad. Oh, there's a scuba tank on his back. Oh, get in there. There we go. And these plug in here. Okay. And he's got a cartridge that goes in this gun. A knife. Undersea diver's got to have a knife, and a good one. Possibly even two, just in case. And then his harpoon gun, which I think is what I'm gonna have him carry. I put in their hands the things that most identify them as kind of their character, right? Like, there he is. Torpedo, looking pretty slick. This is a good batch of Joes. I really love them. Let's take some pictures so you can see them close up. And yeah, and then we'll wrap this thing up. All right. So, what are your thoughts on these four? I am ecstatic about these four, um, because they're all fantastic. These you couldn't get more representative of these four characters from the GI Joe series than what they have created here. And making that even better is we got three of the most iconic characters from the series, all in it right from the beginning, and then a guy like Torpedo who was pretty original, but maybe not in this first wave of the most important characters. But to me, he's special because you know how I was talking about how I love things involved with water and involving my toys with water. So he's special to me in that way as well. So I tried to look for another water guy because the other guy is actually one of my favorite water guys, but they didn't have him. So I'm gonna keep my eyes open in case he does come up as a release at some point. But I am so happy with these four guys, and I'm really happy that three of them were the card backs, so they came with the stands, which I find a lot more assuring that they're going to be where I left them when I come home at night, and not have fallen off the mantle or whatever. So yeah, these four guys are awesome. I got 4 or 5 more guys for the next video, which hopefully, like I said, either this weekend or next week sometime. Yeah, but in the meantime, I'm going to throw them on the mantle behind me. And yeah, just wait with bated breath to see what the surprise is for next time. Can't wait to unveil those guys as well. Have a good one. Meow.